Welcome, one and all, to the Not Those Guys Again podcast. Today, we're joined with a special guest, Scorch, who has never been in it before.
I'm really happy to be here. I've listened to your last two episodes, and I'm a big fan from back in the 2.5 Loser days.
No, sorry, we don't talk about that. There's a scandal behind the scenes. Dan kind of, I don't really say his name too loudly, but Dan sort of, binned him off.
Who?
Obvious reason.
Dan?
No, it's just me and you, Tyler. It was just me and you. No.
Who's Tyler?
No,
I'm a special guest. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, special guest Scorch. So how's your new film doing? A new album out next week, I assume.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. The single is hitting the top of the records right now. The name of the song is "What Would You Do for Booty?"
And you're going to be performing the teaser trailer live here tonight on Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon.
Wait. What? Maybe the other Jimmy. What's Jimmy?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Is Jimmy Kimmel here?
No, he's not actually. I think was Jimmy Kimmel meant to be here? I gotta talk to the staff. They're not running this show very well.
Apparently not. The last time I heard, there was some sort of Jimmy who's gonna be. Oh, maybe it was. Was it Jimmy the wrestler? Savile. Was it the wrestler Jimmy?
The wrestler Jimmy.
Wrestle with Jimmy.
I didn't see that one coming. That was a good one. I also kind of forgot that Jimmy Savile was both a paedophile and dead. So.
I don't even know who that is.
Well, there you go.
That's good.
Bob's your uncle, and Jimmy Savile is dead.
Welcome back to the third installment of Who Are Those Guys?
That's not it. That's not it at all.
It is. I thought that was it. What do you?
Is that the new question people ask when the podcasts are on? They go, "Who are these guys?"
I think you missed the memo.
Oh, the staff around here, Tyler. They just don't tell me anything. Hey. There's no one in here. They're all left early. So I said they could go home early.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh well. So Tyler, you have some things to talk about, such as Venom being a bad movie.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it.
Yep, pretty much. It's gonna be it might be a little bit of a shorter episode this week. We've both been kind of busy, so we're kind of doing this recording 3 days before it needs. No, 2 days before it needs to come out.
Yeah, the staff is slacking. Hey, sorry, they're not here. I keep forgetting. Jeez, I gotta remember.
You gotta get on top of things, man.
I gotta get on top of this thing.
Literally and figuratively.
We're not even having Conspiracy Corner this week. We're just talking about Venom for 5 minutes, and
then we're done. Yeah, that's it.
We're done.
It's Venom for 5 minutes. Brodie's not gonna have a say in anything because he hasn't even fucking seen it yet. So.
However, I want to talk about one actor who is in the film, but I don't want to talk about that actor until you've done the spoiler alert.
Oh yes. All right. So we're gonna start off with some talk about the Venom movie. So I'm gonna put some. I'm gonna have timestamps in the description. So if you don't want any spoilers, just skip it. Just fucking skip it. But you know what? It's been 2 weeks, and spoilers are allowed after 2 weeks. So if you go on beyond this point and you get angry about spoilers, well, too fucking bad. I just told you there was a timestamp.
I think spoilers are allowed as well if the film's not very good.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen the film, and I don't really care. I'm just letting it happen.
The thing with it is that it has like a 90% audience score, but...
Well, see, the thing is what happens is that reviewers... Before the film comes out, they're like, this is awful. So everyone's like, oh, I bet this is going to be terrible. And when it's like there's the slightest ounce of it being all right, everyone's like, this film wasn't that bad. It was quite good, actually. And,
it actually wasn't. It wasn't even... There was entertaining parts, but the only thing left in it was like the action. So the people who were seeing it probably have no idea who Venom is other than they saw Spider-Man 3. And all they saw was Venom throwing people around and things exploding. So they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. They probably didn't
I
even pay
can't-
attention to the story.
Topher Grace ruined the end of that 70s show for fucking Spider-Man 3.
Yes.
And we talked
he
about
did.
this last week. But my friend, I'm not going to say his name if he's listening. You know who you are. I love you, buddy. But he told me to watch it because it was a good film. And I said, really? All I've heard is bad things about it. And he said, no, the script is a bit bad, but everything else is really good. So I think he was just one of those people who saw Venom throwing people around, heard the occasional Wilhelm scream, and or.
Yeah, probably. The I don't think they used. I don't think Sam Raimi used Wilhelm scream though.
I fucking hope he didn't.
I don't think so. I'd have to rewatch it.
The Wilhelm scream is redundant. Like, stop using it.
I know, just
any immersion in the film, you're instantly snapped out of it. Like, I tweeted about it. It's almost as bad as if Tom Hardy saw all these army people shooting their guns at him, and instead of the Wilhelm scream, he just turns to the camera and goes, "Get a load of these guys." Like, that would pull me out of it instantly. And the Wilhelm scream does nothing but that.
Yeah. The only franchise I'm okay with it being in right now is Star Wars, because it's kind of a trope in there, and usually they put it in a decent spot that it's not too stupid.
Yeah, it's sort of like in Venom. Just from that teaser trailer, they were like, right, let's get a part where the only thing happening on screen is this one guy being thrown, and make it very loud so you know exactly what's happening.
I'm glad they put it in the trailer.
So you knew not to go and see it.
Yeah. Because
good marketing, Sony.
Yeah, as soon as you saw that, it's like, oh well, I know that is in there, so
Yeah.
no. They also bit their own ass by cutting out 40 minutes of the movie before it was released. Because those 40 minutes clearly had important plot points in them, because there are so many plot holes in the movie, it's ridiculous. Everything just happens because of convenience of the thing.
I just imagine watching like Shrek, and he's at Lord Farquaad's kind of castle, and he's doing that fight with all the people in the arena, and suddenly it just cuts to the end where they're like, to the music, yeah, and it's just like the end of the movie out of nowhere. They've just skipped like 40 minutes of Shrek.
So one of the plot holes that were in this is that from the very beginning, they show you that, well, they even say that the DNA between the human and the symbiote needs to be a 1-to-1 match. Otherwise, the symbiote will die, and so will the person. Basically, the symbiote will kill them from the inside, like devouring their internal organs, and then they both die. The human dies because they have no more organs, and the symbiote dies because they have no organs to feed off of, and that humans couldn't sustain the symbiote because they weren't a perfect match.
Then Tom Hardy just swans over, like, "Hey, I'm Tom Hardy. I'm Eddie Brock. I'm taking the pictures and stuff."
Yeah, so I'm fine with that one. He goes on, and it's a 1-to-1 match for the purpose of Venom and Eddie Brock. That's fine for They already say it has to be a 1-to-1 match, and they show that they've tried with multiple different people, so it's bound that someone's going to show up that's a match at some point. That match was Eddie Brock. And then there's another symbiote called Riot okay, I guess I missed a big part of when they come in.
Much like the film.
The start of the film. The world, it's not specific as to what year this is, but the company that's working with the symbiotes is apparently in the far future, because they have futuristic space travel where they had astronauts travel to an asteroid to pick up these symbiotes. Anyway, they crash landed because I think Riot got out, and they crashed in Malaysia, I think it was, and Riot escaped. But this is where the whole thing of it needs a 1-to-1 match is already broken. Because Riot is transferring from person to person very easily, and that person that he's transferred to doesn't seem to be dying at all. Like they die once
like, I've still got all my organs. Yeah. Cool.
They die once he's gone, but I'm fine with this, as in Venom mentions that Riot is like the big bad. He's basically the leader of them all, so he's the strongest, and he can probably survive a lot longer in an unmatching body than everybody else. But they can't transform while they're in them. Like, when Eddie Brock turns into Venom, Riot can't. They can't do that if they're in somebody that isn't a match. So Venom also mentions that he's basically the loser of the symbiotes. And this is where one of the plot holes comes in, where because they kept the whole thing with the symbiote where fire and loud and like high-pitched rings are their weakness. So he goes...
a bit like dogs.
So Eddie Brock goes to his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend. All three of them are there. He gets an MRI, and it's freaking out Venom. And he's in that room. The MRI is going, making a really piercing sound, and Venom releases himself from Eddie, and they lock him in that room. But then Venom gets out, and then Venom goes, little puppy. Goes in a little puppy to go find Eddie Brock's ex-girlfriend, Anne. And then he goes in her, and miraculously, she's a 1-to-1 match with Venom as well, because she's able to turn into Venom and use all the powers and everything. And it was
is this when the female Venom kisses not Eddie Brock? I saw a clip of this on Twitter, and they were like, Sony actually made like a fucking like
they made a fetish. It's female Venom kissing Eddie Brock, and then he goes right back into Eddie Brock.
Deviant are gonna love this.
But yeah, it was she was able to there's no reasoning behind it. It's never said why she's miraculously a 1-to-1 match, but it was just for the convenience of Venom being able to get back to Eddie so they can form again. That's all that was there for.
I just typed it in to see if it become like a Deviant art. I don't know, but apparently it's a thing called hashtag #SheVenom. but I read it first as like Stevenum.
Wow.
Stevenum is a fetish, everybody. My goodness.
It is. It's the next great thing. You thought Bowsette was good and spicy? Oh, you haven't seen SheVenom. So the next plot hole is when Riot finds his 1-to-1 match. It just conveniently so happens to be the owner of the company that was doing all the because that's I forget his name, but it's the guy that Eddie is interviewing in the trailers. That's the guy. That's the bad guy. But then Riot is a 1-to-1 match with him because they need a big symbiote fight at the end.
Of course they do.
Yeah, so that's another plot hole.
Which they showed in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. And then another huge plot hole is the life of Eddie Brock is he's with his girlfriend. Everything's going great. He interviews this guy at the Life Foundation. I think that's what it was called. And he gets all this insider news because Anne was like their lawyer or something. So she had all the bad stuff they've been doing, and Eddie hacked into her computer and looked up all the files. So he started spewing all those things at him that no one should have known. So he loses his job as a journalist, and Anne gets fired because that's the only person who he could have got the information from. So Eddie Brock is like, he's living in a shitty apartment. He's got no money. He's got nothing going on with his life. He's got no reason to like be happy or anything like that. He's down in the dumps. He's miserable.
Aww.
But then at the end of the movie, Venom, like the whole movie, Venom's been going on about how he hates Earth, and what the symbiotes do is they just take over planets and then move on to the next one. So he was waiting for that, and then it gets to the ending fight with Riot, who's about to go off in a Life Foundation space shuttle to go get millions of more symbiotes to take over the Earth.
Let me guess. Venom has a change of heart, and he's like, you
know
what, kid? I like your planet. I'm gonna help you save the day.
That's exactly what happens. He has a change of heart. And when Eddie says, "What changed your mind?" he goes, "You did." Eddie gave you no reason to make you want to stay on Earth and like Earth. There's nothing in his head that that would make him want to stay. Because what Venom says is once the symbiote's in you, they know everything. Yet somehow he also didn't know about Anne when Eddie brought Anne up.
Yeah.
Even though he should know everything. And everything in Eddie's head at that point, if Venom knows everything, is life sucks. I hate everything.
Yeah.
So what change? There's no reason to change his mind other than I think I like Anne too. So Venom, Eddie, and Anne are gonna have like this weird little triangle relationship. I think that's the real reason why Venom wants to stay.
So that they can have 3 ways.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Awesome. That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, I'm assuming something must happen in the in some of the 40 minutes that they cut out of the film, because I heard that Tom Hardy's favorite parts of the film are the parts they cut out. Like in an interview, they were like, "So what are your favorite parts?" And he's like, "Everything they cut out of the film." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Which is really good.
Yeah,
I'm hoping when the Blu-ray is released, they do like a director's cut.
That would be good. I feel like that would go down a lot better.
Because it's probably going to fill in a lot of plot holes. So the audience score of 90% makes no sense because people clearly weren't paying attention to the plot and they just saw action and went 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh my God, he bit someone's head. Whoa.
Pretty much. You don't even get to see the head bites. And one of the reasons why they cut all those 40 minutes is because they wanted it to be PG-13 instead of an R. So
it's R-rated here in the UK.
Is it?
So I mean, maybe the fact that because didn't they say like they cut loads of blood and stuff out of it?
They did, yeah. And there's 2 times when Venom bites somebody's head off, and right as he does it, they cut away, so you don't see it.
Because my friend actually said, like, I said, didn't they like censor it loads? He's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, apparently they just took out blood and stuff like that so they can make it PG-13. He's like, mate, it's a 15 and there's like a lot of blood and stuff in it. So it makes me wonder whether the UK got the good version.
Maybe there's I think there was still some blood in it, but they still cut out a lot.
I don't know. I mean, I was gonna see it. Whether or not I see it, I don't really. I don't care.
One of the other things they did to keep that PG-13 is that when you do get a PG-13 rating, you're allowed 1 F word. So they had to save. They had at least 2 F words in the whole movie. There's a chase scene when Eddie is getting chased by the Life Foundation, like their tactical crew, and Venom does this one thing to pull him around a corner, and one guy's like, "What the?" But clearly he was going to say, "What the fuck?" But they had to save the one fuck they could use for Eddie. Eddie had to be the one to use the one fuck they had.
Eddie goes, "What the frig? What the flippin' hell?
What the frick?" We'll have to bring in Sammy Sonic fan. He's the best freak out without swears. Have you never heard of him? Look him up.
No.
He's amazing.
I haven't.
Just look up compilations of Sammy Sonic fan. It's something like that. Or Sammy #1 Sonic fan. He says, "What the frick?" a lot.
You've gotta be a big Sonic fan if you're gonna be like that. So that was Venom. It sounds like there's a lot of plot holes. And I most likely will not be seeing it until it's free. on
I
TV.
would do the same. I kind of
Yeah.
regret going to see it and spending money.
I mean, Amanda was like, "Don't give your money to Sony," and I was like, "Yeah, but my friend Jack works at the cinema, and he gets free movies
yeah,
for him
if
and
you
a
get
friend,
it for
so
free, by all means,
Yeah.
go see it. As
Yeah,
long as
yeah.
Sony isn't getting money, but at this point, it's too late. They've probably made enough money to make the sequel, so.
I mean, at this point, Sony probably made enough money to make the sequel just from people buying. Oh no, that's Samsung Galaxy. I was gonna say they make enough money from selling the Galaxy so kids to get the Fortnite skin.
Right. The setup for the sequel.
Oh yes,
The end credit where they reveal Cletus Cassidy, where he specifically asked for Eddie Brock to come interview him, and it's Woody Harrelson in a clown wig.
Oh my goodness!
Nice.
Why is he in a clown wig? I don't
because
understand.
Woody Harrelson has no hair, and the people they got to make the wig clearly went like, "Oh shit." They were suddenly filming this scene, but we don't have a wig. So just go to the Halloween store and grab a clown wig.
Everyone was like, "Hey, so we're shooting that last scene now, yeah?" And Woody still doesn't have hair. They're like, "Shit, what? I left it in my car."
Yeah, one really good one is the line he says, "When I get out, there will be carnage."
Oh, because he's Carnage. Oh, goddamn. When I get out, there will be Venom. No, wait, that's not. Wait, who am I? Carnage. There will be Carnage.
Yeah,
and a sequel.
The wig is so bad.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people being like, Venom spoilers, out of context. It was just like a clown wig. My God.
If you look at the thumbnail to Amanda's video for end credit explained,
is it?
She had a picture of Woody Harrelson there, and I was like, put a clown wig on him.
So, I was actually talking. Oh yeah, I see.
That's pretty much what he looks like in the end credit.
That's amazing. I was gonna say, me and Jack and Callum went for some food today, and we were talking about when we were recording our EP. We went down to the shop down the road. Like, none of us really had any money left. We were just eating microwave meals and shit. And we were like, God, it's so boring just doing nothing all night. There was no internet, like no TV or anything like that. We were just sat there. After spending like 12 hours together recording, we were then just spending like another 5 hours together just sat there doing nothing. So we saw Now You See Me 2 on DVD.
Oh.
Very cheap. Yeah, we'd all seen the first one. We hadn't seen the second one.
I haven't seen it.
And I had my laptop. No, I had my laptop with me. Now I'm gonna spoil something a little bit for you, Tyler. It's not a spoiler. It's just a character who's in the film. If I may, is that okay?
Go right ahead.
So there's this one part. It's pretty much at the start of the film, so you know you're gonna see it pretty quickly anyway. But they try and do this big show, like, oh shit, disappearing and stuff, and everyone's like, whoa, and they're like, we are the Four Horsemen. They're like, oh, and then they like run off, and they go down these tubes on top of a building, and they suddenly end up in China, I think it is, and they're like, what the shit, and then this guy turns around, who looks very similar to what I imagine Carnage looked like in the end credit scene. Right, Woody Harrelson, Chase. Let me see what he looks like, just so I get a reminder.
Just think of Sideshow Bob and Carrot Top.
So basically, it turns out the person who set this whole thing up is Woody Harrelson's brother, his twin brother.
Whoa.
Who was not mentioned at all in the first film, despite the fact he seems to be very good at illusions and things like that. Now, they look, and this guy has a very orange face, quite big curly hair, and very white teeth, and he's called Chase, and they're like, oh, Chase, what have you done? And he's like, hey, guys, I'm Chase. And it's so obvious that they wanted Matthew McConaughey to play the part, but they couldn't get him, so they just made Woody Harrelson fucking look like and pretend to be Matthew McConaughey. I was so surprised. I was so surprised he didn't turn around and go, all right. Because he looks just like him. And we were like, listen, we need to watch the director's commentary for this. And they were like, oh, yeah, so Chase was a really interesting character. We had a few actors in mind. And we're like, yeah, of course they did. But in the end, we were like, oh, why don't we just see what Woody would be like playing him? And like, yeah, you just couldn't afford fucking Matthew McConaughey.
Wow.
Jesus.
So they just dressed obvious. Woody Harrelson up to kind of look like Matthew McConaughey.
Look, if you type in to Google Woody Harrelson Chase, the first picture you'll see is him, and it looks just like him. It is... Oh, it's ridiculous. It is just ridiculous.
Actually, I'll give them credit. This wig is a little bit better than his Carnage wig.
Okay.
But if
Woody Harrelson Carnage.
If you make it red though, it'll be pretty good. If you made it red, it would be a much better wig than what they had for him in Venom.
They're not showing any pictures of him. They're just showing pictures of him next to a picture of Venom. Fantastic.
I remember the funny thing that Nikki mentioned from the last podcast is I completely missed you mentioning, oh, Woody Harrelson's in Venom when we were talking about it.
Oh, because that's a big spoiler.
Yeah, and then it's just all he was in the end credit.
Oh, crazy. I mean, it's not even a spoiler. It's like, oh, wow, look, a superhero film which made bunch of money. Of course they're going to do an after credits thing where...
yeah, exactly.
I don't know, it's like...
So, you had a story that you were going to tell us last podcast, but you decided to save it for this one. I
did. Now, we were talking about she-Venom before, which is a new fetish on the scene. However, sometime earlier this year, it suddenly come out that a science teacher who used to teach Callum and our friend Lachlan at their old school had been found on the internet on various websites. Now, I won't say his actual username. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been completely wiped off the internet at this point, because as soon as he found out, he just like wiped any existence of him being on there. But his name was like Biker Man. And
that's such a generic fucking name.
it was like he went on Xbox and got a random name, and he was like, Biker Man, yes, this will be my new fetish name.
Now, is it like a motorbike or is it a bicycle?
A motorbike, luckily. So obviously leather and things like that is a very popular trending topic on the internet. So basically, he took the whole biker leathers side of things and added in dominating other men. Which, I mean, I'm sure in that scene, it's not uncommon. It's it's just a norm.
Sounds like he might be into a bit of a gimp fetish.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. But when we initially found out, he still had all his profiles and things online. And so, people are taking screenshots of them, because I typed in his name and literally it just been like on all these websites, which just these really weird websites where you have to be over 18 to be on them. And you could tell that they were made of like HTML in like 2002.
Right.
And like you go on it and it's like, this profile is unavailable. I just imagine the panic when I think what happened is somebody printed out a picture and they put it on the door of his class.
Oh,
and
shit.
So he found it. Yeah. He got how would you say? He didn't get fired. He just got suspended, pretty much. Like he just suddenly got suspended because they were like, he cannot be at school. Like, there's no way. And imagine the panic though. Like that would be insane. All these kids are the worst people. Like people
they
when
really
you're in
are.
high school. when like it doesn't matter how like me and your boss might be, or that asshole Larry in your office. It's like kids in high school are the most vile human beings ever. Like if you're ever gonna be an asshole, it's gonna be then. So they obviously would have just ripped the piss out of him, and he just went on his spree of deleting everything. But on these screenshots, there was this one thing that there was a whole bio which I haven't looked for because I don't want to read it out on the podcast. I really don't. But there's this whole bio of who he is and what he does. I think he likes to be called Daddy.
Oh my god.
He has foot slaves who smell his feet.
What the fuck?
And and at the bottom you could phone call him. He did phone sex for $7 a minute.
Whoa.
$7
like American dollars, or are these pounds?
$7 American. Like, it must have been an American website, but he was English, obviously. But still, what's that? Like, you get $100 in like 14 minutes of talking. Just being like, oh yeah, that's right. That's smell my feet. people are just sat like in their front room in the dark, like, yeah, I can smell them. They smell real good, and they could just smell their like Febreze air freshener. It's that. Oh god, it's.
Hey, I mean, at that way, you're at least paying for some interaction, or you can go on Instagram and pay people for $50 foot pics.
Yeah, true. Actually, very true. No, no kink shaming here on the Not Those Guys Again podcast.
You mean who are those guys?
I mean, who are those guys? Who are these 2.5 losers? But it I don't know. It was just interesting to see because like this is a science teacher who they've suddenly seen like in all this like biker gear and leather and stuff, just like, you will smell my feet. all the people I know who went to school there, they were like, ew, what the hell is this?
Some people have some weird fetishes, and that poor old man just had to be a high school teacher, and the high schoolers had to find his profiles.
That's the problem. You can't be. You just can't be like a teacher if you have things like that, because it might happen. I mean, it did, but just imagine all the teachers out there who are like this, who haven't been found yet.
Yeah,
it just must be the most. Oh god, I just.
You
can't
think
even
they would
happening.
be, especially after him getting caught? A lot of other ones might try hiding their stuff a lot better now.
Yeah, exactly.
People have some weird fetishes. Who's to say they're wrong? People like what they like. But you just got to be careful when you have some really fucking weird ones, not to let them be easily searched.
Hang on. I'm sure there was a article about it. Oh, here we go. So, freaking, why do adverts pop up in front of the title? Like, stop doing this. So, teacher facing suspension over website claims. A teacher is facing suspension after posting images of himself on an adult website. The school today confirmed that a male teacher had been told not to come into work while the matter was investigated. This was in March, by the way. The allegations came to light when students in the school started sharing images from the website on social media after discovering them. The message about the issue was sent to parents from the school via text message. The message said, people may be aware of a serious issue on the internet related to a member of staff. The member of staff is not in school at the moment whilst we investigate. The images included intimate images of the teacher along with personal... Oh, stop these freaking adverts. I lost it. Along with personal information. The CEO of the school had said the school acted swiftly once the allegations had come to light. He added, I am aware of this extremely serious issue and can confirm a member of staff has been asked to stay away. This is just repeating the same sentence so many times. I told the teacher involved not to come into work. Oh, it was being dealt with. I stopped saying the same thing in different orders. The images were posted to social media on Sunday evening and posts have been shared repeatedly. Oh, like what's funny is that this school, it's like two schools which have been merged together. And they were like the two most notorious schools in the whole town, which is funny because obviously out of all of them. But what I did find funny after it happened was saying to Callum and Lachlan, remember all those times you forgot your homework in science, or when he told you off? He was just being leather biker daddy.
Oh my god!
And they're like, yeah, stop. Come to the front of the class and smell my feet.
Oh, good lord.
Well, that's that. There you go.
It's a good
I don't know where
story.
that came from. I just thought I had to share it.
Hopefully he never finds our podcast.
No, if he does, then hit me up with your number. I mean, I've got some money to spare, so.
Hit me up with it too. It's we'll see what it's all about, and we'll interview you for the next podcast.
If we're in a group call, could we get a discount? Like it'd be like $10 a minute.
Oh yeah,
14.
maybe.
That's a good
We'll have to
idea.
ask him about that.
Or what we could do is, I could call them initially and then have them on speaker, and you could listen through Discord.
Oh yeah, that we could do that too.
Yeah, we could do that. Okay, there we go.
That's it's quite the story, I must say. Never had any sort of teacher that I know of has some weird fetishes like that.
Until you became a teacher, Tyler.
Exactly.
I'll just go around to your house one day and I'll just be like, a fursuit will just fall out your closet and you're like, and we'll all look at each other like, duh, 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 duh.
You've been making fun of me this whole time, and you were also one.
I feel bad saying that because furries, it's not a fetish thing, apart from like that 1% of people who just... Yeah.
But there are a lot of weirdos too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cringy furries.
Some of which called Snoop Puggy Pug. Anyway, let's carry on to... we were talking about movies, and were we?
Yeah, we were talking about movies. So we have this idea for one of our segments going forward, starting with the next podcast, where...
Welcome to the podcast where instead of just doing the segment, we talk about it beforehand. Like, we haven't done it yet.
This is the segment part of the podcast where we're talking about a segment that's not in this episode, but will be in the next. We just want to inform what's going to be happening. We're still, we kind of got most things kind of fleshed out of how we want to do everything in the podcast, but we're still kind of figuring stuff out as we go along to kind of fix up our segments and how we do them and everything. Indeed. So one of them, what we're going to start doing for our movie segment is we're going to each either watch a movie we haven't seen, talk about it, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, if it was good or not. Or the other thing we'll do is one of us will pick a movie that we really like that the other hasn't seen and see what their take on the movie is.
No, you see me too.
I'm not fucking watching that. I don't even want to watch the first one.
It's all right. I like it.
Yeah, so next week, Brodie has never seen Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
So gonna get him to
Halloween.
watch that. It's a good time to start.
It's spoopy time. Talking about spoopy time, I've been watching this new show on Netflix called The Hauntings of Hill House, I believe it's called. And it is pretty damn good. It is, it's this show, I think it's like 10 episodes, and it's this family who, it switches between when the family were young, and like all the kids were, like between like 7 and 12, I'd say. And then it switches to them like in their like 30s. And it goes between the two, and it's like you kind of uncover more of the stories that goes on of these like hauntings in this house, and it's really good, and like it's how it's affected their lives. I've only watched 3 or 4 episodes. Now, people are saying online that it's really scary, and I saw an article where it was like, the haunting a Hill House is causing people panic attacks and anxiety. And I'm like, well, how? It's not. Like, I'm really bad at horror films. I don't like horror films because, I mean, they're okay, but it's probably one of my least favorite genres because I'm just a bitch. I just get scared really easily by films. And
for me, horror is one of my favorites. But see, another thing I could do as well is get you to watch some older horror movies that I like that aren't really, they're not the type of horror that is around nowadays. It's like back then it was scary, but now it's kind of it's not scary anymore. But like back in the day, it would have been because of how fresh horror movies were back then.
Yeah. I mean, me and Lily went to go see the original Halloween in cinema a few weeks ago, which is cool because it was, the actual cinema experience. So much so that we had an annoying couple behind us talk the entire fucking film. The entire film. So that was the real true movie experience. But it is cool, yeah. It's cool seeing some of the classic horror films, I guess.
One of the worst movies the worst horror movies I saw in theaters was what was that Jim from The Office horror movie? I forget the name of it. A Quiet Place.
You didn't like that?
No, it was a good movie. It was really good. But the movie is called A Quiet Place. Everybody has to be dead silent. So you're in there in a movie where there's no sound and there's people munching on popcorn, crinkling their bags.
I hate that shit.
And when I went, there was this Asian couple that sat in front of me. And we're like a couple seats over. Just called them
a couple, Tyler.
I'm being specific.
Okay.
They were sitting in front of me and over to the side, and the guy, every time it went dead silent, he kept pointing at the screen and talking to the person next to him about. I think he was telling her what was going on. I think that's what he was doing, but he kept pointing at the screen and talking every time it went quiet, and or when it went quiet, he'd go.
And then a black guy behind you sneezed.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So watch Hauntings of Hill House. Really good show. It's like I was saying, it's not scary. There's creepy parts, and there's parts where you're sort of on edge because you think there's going to be a jump scare. But jump scares aren't their thing. It's more just creepy. But it's really good. It's sort of a mix between horror and mystery, which I really like. So recommended show for you there, I guess.
I'll give it a watch.
They were like advertising it like so scary we had to premiere it in the daytime. Like, wow.
Jesus Christ.
It's gonna stop people from watching it in the evenings, right?
I'm gonna watch it in the evenings.
Tyler, don't do it, you'll die.
I'm gonna do it. Lights are gonna be out. Everything is gonna be off except for this one monitor.
It'll be really suspenseful. And then you'll look out the window and there'll be an Asian couple pointing at the screen.
He's going to be at the window coughing and pointing at my window coughing. Speaking of new things, since the last podcast, I found a couple new YouTube channels that are pretty good.
One of them Knockout Wolf.
Who?
It doesn't matter. You do this every time, Tyler. In fact, I was going to make a joke, but the last comment you left on a video of mine was bad video. Quit YouTube, please and thank you.
At least I was polite about it.
Yeah. My goodness. It was a video from like 2 or 3 years ago, and you just decided to bring it up and comment on it.
I also gave it the only downvote. I never took it away.
You ass.
So yeah, there's a couple channels I've been watching. I found one called Mr. Sunday Movies, who if you can't figure it out by the name of his channel, he talks about movies. It's pretty good. It's like
on a Wednesday.
What?
Talks about comics on a Wednesday.
Yes. Yeah, he talks about comics. He talks about movies. He's got some game stuff on there. He does like 3 videos a week. But he also has a podcast called The Weekly Planet that I've been binging through. That's really good.
And guess what? We got him as a guest on today's episode. He's been quiet for the last half an hour. Come on in, Sunday movie guy.
Mr. Sunday Movies, welcome.
Mr. Sunday Movies.
Brodie, he's Australian, so do an accent.
Hi guys, my name is Australian movie man. I say the word cunt a lot.
I think he's Australian. He might be He might be from New Zealand.
You can't say you cannot mix the two up. I had a PE teacher, a physical education for those who aren't from the UK. I had a PE teacher who was from New Zealand, and she would lose her shit if people said she was Australian. She was like, "I'm not Australian. I'm from New Zealand." And we're like, "Well, you sound exactly the same."
I'm pretty sure he's Australian. Might be from New Zealand.
Talking about Australia and new channels, I've been watching like a fuck lot of Anti-Donna. My God, what a good channel. They're Australian. They're like a skit channel. If you have a series that you should start on, I'd probably say 1999, where they have different series where they basically all the skits are just themed in a certain place. And 1999 is in an office in surprise 1999, and it's the funniest shit. It's so funny. Like there's one called Touchy Tim, and I was crying.
I'll look that one up.
Anti-Donna.
Another one that I found, it's actually kind of funny that that I even found it. The way that I found it, because I found this guy's channel because of last week's podcast. We were talking about Vin Diesel and his cringiness.
I'm doing a live.
And I was going through the podcast, and one of the recommended videos for that episode of the podcast was one of his called Vin Diesel, King of Cringe.
Oh yeah.
So the channel's Drew Gooden. He
I was talking about Drew Gooden last episode.
Were you?
I was like, oh, Drew Gooden made this really good video about Vin Diesel. And I found out that Vin Diesel is real. I even said the video is called Drew Gooden, Vin Diesel, King of Cringe.
Well, now you know how much I listen to you.
Way to listen, Tyler.
Nikki will like this.
Drew Gooden is really good though.
Yeah,
he's just hit 1 million, I think.
Yeah, he did. I'm sorry that I missed. I remember you talking about the cringe of him because of a channel, but I couldn't remember who it was. But yeah, his video popped up on ours, so I've been watching some of his stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. He there's kind of a bit of a joke going around that him and Danny Gonzalez are the same person because their content is so similar, but like they're
I mean, his content's pretty similar to Elvis the Alien as well.
Yeah, I'd say Drew's a bit drier and relies on on natural comedy more than like reacting and things like that.
Yeah.
But he did a video where he went to go to Jake Paul's live show. And apparently in one of the new episodes of Shane Dawson's Jake Paul documentary, which I just have not been watching because I just have no interest at all, they found out about this guy who was in Team 10 who has this song where he just talks about how rich he is and how he had 6 figures when he was only 4.
Oh my God.
And everyone's talking about it, but Drew Gooden was like, yeah, I made a video about this guy like 3 months ago. Like, where were you all? Talking about Shane's documentary, Colossal is Crazy tweeted the most perfect description of it earlier. Shane Dawson's series is like a long blowjob where you don't get to nut. I'm enjoying the ride, not a total waste of my time at all, but ultimately, what's the point?
That's great.
Amazing.
Yeah, he knows. He's got Nerd City there in his people. Oh well, he calls them people he's ripping off. Drew Gooden.
Oh yeah, Drew's actually in one of Nerd's videos. One of the I think it's one of the tryhards, and basically Drew plays Photoshop Police, where he goes into some of Tanner's,
yes, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. That's a really good video as well.
Yeah, I really like his.
I say that as if like Nerd has mediocre videos. All his videos are fantastic, but you know.
So there's another channel that I found. I found this one today, and it's a fan trailer channel. Now I know what you're saying. Fan trailers are shit because people usually release fan trailers years before a movie's even fucking out, and it has nothing to do with what you're about to see anyway. It's just random clips from previous movies.
Of course.
But this one is actually, not all of his stuff is good, but he has some really good ones. So 2 months ago, there was the Godzilla King of Monsters trailer release for the next Godzilla movie. And what he does is he takes one trailer and makes a trailer for a movie that wasn't for that trailer. So like he uses the same style the trailer was in, that trailer music, but for a different movie. And
I see.
He made an Avengers Infinity War trailer in the style of the Godzilla King of the Monsters trailer. And
wow.
all the channels and everything in the videos we're talking about here, we'll link them in the description so you guys can check them out. So what I would say is watch the Godzilla trailer and then watch this Infinity War trailer. I actually like this Infinity War trailer better than the ones that Marvel actually released. It's really good. The only thing with it though is it's like watch the movie first, because he does put some spoiler scenes in it because it's after the movie has come out, so he has like the actual movie to pull footage from.
Yeah.
So he uses scenes that were never used in any of Marvel's trailers because of plot.
I don't feel so good.
That part's actually in it, but it's just Spider-Man like going over and falling on Iron Man, so you don't really know what's going on.
Of course.
But it's really good. And he did another one, Lord of the Rings, in the style of the Infinity War trailer. And it actually made me want to watch Lord of the Rings.
That's saying something.
It made Lord of the Rings look good.
Damn.
I don't like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I've never bothered with it.
But that trailer made me want to watch it. I'm
going to mention a couple channels, actually, if I may.
Go right ahead.
We got Collier is Coolio, who edits for Elvis alongside me. We both got a shout out from Elvis, probably since the last podcast, I'd imagine. Or did we talk about this?
We might have. I don't remember. I
mean, we talked about Drew Gunn too. We didn't remember that, did you, Tyler?
Fair enough.
You bastard. So Cole, like I've known Cole for ages, just through I don't really know, but he didn't really upload that much. Like his schedule's really sparse. But his new video, he made a video about what's the guy's name? Oh, Collier is Coolio. I'm gonna have a look. Hold on. He made a video on Bart Baker. No, not to be confused with Brock Baker, who I kept thinking it is. In fact, he makes a joke how people could confuse the two. Basically, it's the guy who makes parodies of like any popular song with loads and loads of production in it. But his channel's just dying, and it's really cringe. It's not good at all. And the video he made on it is so fast paced, really well edited, and I'm just like, why did I not think of things like this when I'm making videos? Like it was just crazy how quick everything was. Unfortunately, he takes a long ass time to upload. He's uploaded 3 times in the last 6 months, which sucks. However, his content's really good. So Coolio is a good one.
Would you say it's like Nerd City level of quality, where there's rarely any videos out, but when there is one, it's really good?
It's getting there. Like it's getting to a good rate. There's probably the amount of editing and stuff that's in my videos, but Cole he's just funny, and he just makes really good content. But yeah, he's getting there. So Cole really does need some boost soon, I'm hoping. Another one was Doplex, who I literally only watched a couple of days ago. And I've only watched one of his videos, but I subbed straight away just because he seemed very natural on the camera and just kind of funny. And I don't know, just thought he deserved a little bit of attention. I liked him.
A little bit of a shout out.
A little bit. So Tyler, I think the podcast is getting on a bit now. We were going to say it was going to be a short one, but it's not.
We did, but we're actually going for quite a while.
Hit me with that conspiracy corner. Conspiracy. Tyler, I was doing the X-Files. You were just
I don't know
making
what
noises.
I was doing.
You were just going. We don't do that. We. It's the conspiracy corner. Hit me, Tyler. Spook me out.
So, in this week for the conspiracy corner, we're gonna start a little side series inside the conspiracy corner series called the Alex Collier Chronicles. So this guy has been around since 1994 doing seminars about aliens and the truth behind everything in the world.
Must be good because Weezer's Blue album came out that year. So
well, one thing is he had a lot of things that were going to happen within the next 9 years, and that was from like a 95 or 96 interview. None of that stuff happened. So you'd think he'd kind of fade away and not come back, but he came back and he had a good like 10-year or more break. Came back in 2015, and since then he's done 64 seminars since coming back in 2015. So I'm just gonna give you a little background of this guy and a little bit of information about what's really going on in the world. So this guy says that the very first time he was abducted was when he was 14 years old.
Same. What a coincidence.
He was abducted by an alien race called the Andromedans. They are from Andromeda. Now,
okay.
I know what they're from, the galaxy Andromeda, from somewhere in the constellation Andromeda, probably from the galaxy. I know what you're saying right now. That's what we call that galaxy. Why would another race call themselves what we call them? That doesn't make any sense. They wouldn't call themselves Andromedans, nor would they call themselves based off of their entire galaxy. We don't call ourselves Milky Wayans.
What do you think they call us though?
Idiots. So his little the little way he gets around that is that they've studied our culture and everything, so they use terms and words that we associate that stuff with, so that we know where they come from. And I'll give them that one. If an alien race came here before they really wanted to make contact with us, they would find out what our culture is like, and they would find out what we call certain things the constellations, and they would find similarities, and then wherever they were from, they would probably, to communicate with us better, they would use our verbiage for things like that. I don't think verbiage is the right word. They'd use our language or something. I'd like to think they'd come to Earth and they'd be like, there'd be this really dramatic scene where a spaceship comes down. We're like, what's going on? And they just come out and they're like, hello, what up, Ruffle, OMFL, Oma, Gucci. You would think that if an alien race was smart enough to get here and want to make contact with us, that they would at least find a way to figure out what we would call them and where they come from based on our knowledge of everything, and use our words for where they're from. Okay. I'll give them that. Anyway, so they tell them a whole bunch of stuff about the universe. So the one thing I like about Alex Collier is his stories. And what I really want is for him to sell his stories of what the Andromedans have told him, because they would make fucking amazing movies. I'm not even kidding.
Oh yeah.
So, you know about the reptilian races? They're called the Draconans. They've been at war with the Andromedans for a long time. The Andromedans are a humanoid race. They're we're actually kind of ancestors to them. All humans originated from the Lyra constellation. Before we even came here, we didn't just show up. We didn't just become on Earth. We came to Earth from Lyra. We're through generations and generations of like race mixing and experimentation and everything. We've become what we are. But the Andromedans are usually bald. They have light blue skin, and when they get really fucking old, they just turn white. Like really pale.
Like me too.
Yeah. So the two Andromedans that he talks to all the time are Visayas and Morine. Visayas is the old one, so he's pale, and Morine is light blue. They usually live around, I think he said, like 2,200 years in Earth years. But where they are in their evolution, they don't use the rotation of planets as years. When a full year for them is when every cell in their body has died and regenerated. That's a year.
So what do years like vary for everyone though?
Yep, they vary for all the different races. But
so they count years in like how old they are in years, like that way?
No, they'd end up telling you how old they are in their age, which wouldn't make any sense. But they let us know how old they are in our terms. So for us, they live to about 2,200 years old. Visayas is a rare one. He's super fucking old. He's outlived some people. So he'd probably be like the equivalent of a human living to like 150.
It's pretty fucking old.
Yeah. So back to the Lyra system where all humans used to be. That's where life started. The Draconians came from a whole different dimension. The dimension they came from, we don't know what it was. They came out of nowhere, these reptilians, and they went to... they believe they are the superior race, and they want to take over the entire universe. But the previous universe they were in, basically all the people that were there were like, well, fuck these guys. We don't want to deal with them. Send them off to a different universe, and they can deal with them. That's how they got here. We don't know exactly what universe, but all we know is they were outcast and exiled from another universe because they didn't want to deal with them. So they came here, raging war. They went to Alpha Draconis. That's why we call them the Draconians. We don't know what they were called back in their other universe, but they went to Alpha Draconis. So that's
Steve.
Why we. So that's why we call them the Draconians. So one thing that happened was they tried to take over this universe. So they were in this galaxy. They were fighting over in the Lyra constellation. There was a war that went on, I think, for like 600,000 years between the humans and the Draconians. And at the end of it, they lost like 2 planets. Or not planets, sorry. I think they blew up entire star systems. So like the star and everything, they destroyed them.
Wow, but aren't stars just explosions? So really, they just added.
They just sped up the process.
Okay. So they just added a bit more star to the star. Yeah.
So I'm gonna get back into my notes so I don't lose myself. So the Andromedan, so that was a 600,000 year war. There was no winner of that war. They just moved. They basically the Draconians got bored and left.
Me playing Halo Wars.
So after that 600,000 year war, the Andromedans formed the Andromedan Council, which was all the human races in one council, where it's basically like what the fuck does Earth have? Oh, the League of Nations, right? The League of Nations. That's it.
The League of Legends. I got it.
Yeah. So the Andromedan Council is basically that, but for the galaxy and the universe. They deal with trying to keep people from going to war. So anyway, the Draconians came down to our solar system, and there was a war that went on here for about 4 billion years. They came and they took over one of the planets here, and then other humanoids came, like some Andromedans and that, and they came and they took over a planet called Meldek, and that was what is now the asteroid belt. Yeah, so Meldek is where everybody lived. That's where the humans went. But during the war with the Draconians that was still going on, just this time it was just a war in this solar system. That went on for about 4 billion years. And
my God.
Meldek was destroyed in the process, and that's why it is an asteroid belt now. It was previously a planet.
It sort of gets to the point, though, when it's like they're doing this for 4 billion years or whatever, but they're just like, hey, none of us were alive when it started. Like, why are we here?
Why are we still going?
We're like, all of us are fighting people who have just been brought into this fight just because. Just like, it's so stupid.
Well, with the Draconians, they keep fighting because it's their heritage. They're the superior race of the universe, and they need to take over. So they're always in war because they always want to.
Just like Venom.
They always want to take over.
Like
yeah,
Venom.
Exactly. So yeah, that war was going on for a long time, and that's when the humans got over to Earth and settled on Earth.
So that's how we got here.
Yeah, that's how we got here. That is how we got to Earth.
Wow.
There's a lot more to this. I feel I've gone on quite a bit about it this time. There's a lot more to this than I had really thought. In my head, it goes by a lot quicker. But that's kind of the basis to it. There's a little more about the Andromedans. Like I said, they live for 2,000 years. They age in different ways. Like I said, once all the cells in their body die, that's a year rather than a rotation around the sun.
Yeah.
They go to school for about 120 to 150 years because of how long they live. So they absorb everything. So every Andromedan's basically a fucking rocket scientist. They're all smart. They learn everything, and their whole thing is like they don't fight. They don't go to war. They're pretty. They're pacifists, and their whole thing is about knowledge and helping other people get smarter. But that's one thing that the Andromedan Council does is they try to help other civilizations grow, but they're not allowed to directly allow them to grow. They can only give them hints, which is what they're trying to do with Earth and us. They're trying to get us to become smarter.
So they're just trying to get us to go to school for like 120 years. I know that's kind of BS. Like, I know we're assholes in school, but I just can't have that for 120 years. Nobody could be an adult sex worker online for $7 a minute. Just
some characteristics about the Draconians is they're 7 to 22 feet tall. I never got an exact length that they live, but the longer their tail is the higher their rank is in their military. You remember the little dinosaur from Jurassic Park that sprays Newman with the black goo?
Yeah.
You know, the little flaps or whatever that come from its from the side of it.
Yeah.
If you see a really big Draconian with a really long tail and really big flappy whatevers on the side of its head, that's how you distinguish royalty. The bigger their flappy things on the side of their head are, the more royal they are.
I might not see one anytime soon, you know, but
oh well, darn.
If I do, I'll know. I'll now know.
Yeah, that's you will. Cool. There's a whole other thing that I'd like to talk about, but I'll save that.
Why don't we start on this next week?
Yeah,
guys, I I hope you can hold off from looking up spoilers because Tyler's not going to be happy.
I'll be very angry.
Hey, all two of you, I swear. Any spoilers, and I'll leak Tyler's address and
You'll leak my address.
yeah. Sorry, Tyler. It's just gonna happen.
Rude.